Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to this Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a good day, folks. We're going to kick it off here with JC in just a second. And then we're going to have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com breaking down the game on Saturday. But first, let's go to the Titan MR Hotline. And we're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
I am doing great, QB. I want to start real quick by saying something non-sports related because of how impactful this news could be that came out this morning about an hour ago, due to the fact that our entire year in existence has been surrounded by this coronavirus nightmare. This morning, Pfizer and a German biotechnology company have come out with news that their vaccine that has been undergoing trials rather behind the scenes is 90% effective in treating the coronavirus in 2 doses. The stock market is up 5%. That translates to 1,500 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That is news that would lead us into 2021 with a pretty good feeling as it relates to the coronavirus. As it relates to Florida football, I think right now people should be feeling pretty darn good because of what happened on Saturday, the way they answered that 14-point deficit early and really dominated that football game.
Well, that I can't tell you how many texts I was receiving when Florida was down 14-0, games over, yada yada, blah blah blah.
Really?
You know,
what kind of friends are those?
That's why you have to play the game. And until people understand who have been in the game, good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. You just got to keep playing. Florida played hard the entire game. I thought it was by far Coach Mullen and his staff's best plan that they put together since they've been here. They out-schemed and out-coached Georgia the entire game.
It didn't hurt either that their quarterback, Georgia, Stetson Bennett, was hurt early in the game for Florida in that case. Now, he came back to play, but we could tell he was bothered, his shoulder, and, that's just part of it. They had no reserve quarterback. They had no backup. Basically. And this is the second time that Kirby Smart gets to answer the questions about his backups because he let Justin Fields leave for Ohio State. And once Jake Fromm wasn't healthy at times, they had trouble. And then I think on Saturday, it was obvious that Georgia had no answer once Stetson Bennett left the game. But that takes nothing away from Florida. Certainly, with Pitts leaving the game, they had guys who could answer. Guys like Kamor Gamble, guys like Justin Shorter and Trayvon Grimes. Different guys caught the ball for Florida. And when you have 474 yards of passing yardage and 373 of those passing yards went to guys not named Tony or Pitts, then you've got an effective offense right now. And Kyle Trask, for all that he's done, 22 touchdown passes, QB. That's the third highest 5-game total among all Heisman winning quarterbacks from the last 30 years, from the last 3 decades. He sets records. He's if he wins it all this year and the Gators win the national title, you put a statue out there with Danny because that kid is throwing the ball as well as anybody I've ever seen. How about that?
He's playing very well. There's no question. Made some great throws. He's playing at a high level. There's a lot, but it's crazy, JC, because take nothing away with what he's done. He's been outstanding, but
yes,
it just seems like it's so much easier to throw the football these days. I mean, look at. I mean, it's across the country, but he's played at a very high level, and like I said, the kids executed. But I got to tip my hat to Dan Mullen, Brian Johnson, Billy Gonzalez, Hevesy, everybody on offense. Dude, we had dudes running wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
No, and it's a beautiful thing. And certainly Georgia could say, well, we didn't have our best guys in there, but they got good players everywhere. And Florida executed and really exposed some of those weaknesses that you just mentioned. And I just like seeing some of the other guys contribute. I hadn't really heard much of Shorter this year or Gamble. And Grimes had been around from time to time, but mostly it was Kadarius Toney who got a lot of the headlines and got a lot of the balls going his way. But the way Trask is distributing it, the way the offensive line protected him, I mean, this is a well put together machine right now offensively. And I think we said this last week, that Florida was set up to win this game and did exactly that. And I guess when you have an offense like this, you fall behind by 14 points, you're never out of it. It's too early to worry because of the fact that they can score so quickly. And it was nice to see.
Yep. Well, we got a couple of Facebook Live comments here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law partner of the Florida Gators. John says the wheel route was alive and well. We ran the wheel route at least 8 to 10 times. And what was beautiful about it, if we picked them. Some of them were legal, some were illegal, but they didn't call them. But our guys did a great job acting on the pick play on the wheel route. And I knew going into the game that was the plan for us. I found out Friday night, and it worked to perfection. They could not cover our backs out of the backfield.
No, Pierce was involved. A lot of these guys really were effective. Now, my question for you would be the defense. Obviously, once Bennett left the game, Georgia was seriously handicapped with how they could run their offense. But what kind of credit do you give the Florida defense? Because Georgia was stuck on 21. I think Florida outscored them 38-7 at one point because they took, I think it was a 38-21 lead at halftime. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. But it was a huge effort by the defense as well, even though Georgia was severely crippled by the loss of their quarterback.
Yeah, I thought the defense was great. They flew around. Yeah. Obviously, the first play of the game, Georgia schemed us up, and that happens, folks. People can get upset about it, but you can't get upset about that when we have guys running wide open on wheel routes. You got to tip your hat to the coaching there. We were down 14-0, and you bring up a good point. I think a lot of people forget this, regardless of what stars walk on or what have you. When Bennett was hurt on that touchdown pass, it changed a lot of the game. Florida's still going to win the game, I think, but that crippled them throwing the football later. He stayed in the game. He's a pretty accurate thrower, and you could tell it was bothering him because he was throwing balls behind players. And then when DeJuan Mathis came in, he can't throw a lick.
He's not ready. He's just not ready.
He ain't never going to be ready, JC. I can tell you that right now.
That's fine. That's Georgia's problem.
He's a 5-star. This is why Gator fans need to relax on all the 5-stars. He was the #1 dual threat quarterback in America. And I don't know how that's possible because he literally can't throw a lick.
Well, that kid from Alabama, Young, out of California, you can make the argument would be as well. But you're right. That kid was lost out there. I mean, I just don't have any confidence if I'm a Georgia fan with him in the game yet, and probably not ever. I don't know. But Kirby's had these issues. These quarterbacks, Justin Fields is at Ohio State right now, and he kept from, and at the time there were good reasons to keep from. But I don't want to belay the point that Georgia's got offensive issues on this show. They already know that. Florida already knows that. And Florida's on their way to Atlanta, assuming things go well in these last 5 games. And there's no reason to think they won't go well because 4 of the teams currently in the last 5 games that Florida plays have losing records, with the exception. And the team that's coming in this weekend is the only one that doesn't have a losing record out of those last 5 games that Florida's going to play. So when you look at Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and LSU and Arkansas and is it South Carolina? I mean, these teams just don't have what it will take to keep up with Florida. So
it's your Tennessee Vols. We've already played South Carolina.
I'm sorry, it is Tennessee in December. That's right. So I guess it's just one of those things where, barring any unforeseen circumstances, Florida should walk right into.
Well, JC, we have to lose 2 games to not go. It's not. We're going to Atlanta.
Well,
the sad part about it is
you don't want to lose another game because you don't want to have 2 losses going into the SEC championship game.
Right. The sad part about it is it's not going to be a normal SEC championship game experience. That's what stinks.
No, it's not. I
got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Ryan. He's got some comments and questions here. He says Saturday left many once proud programs saying, quote, "I want my 90s back." It don't get much better than seeing Michigan, Penn State, Nebraska, FSU, and Tennessee all losing the same day and throwing that UGA thumping for good measure. How does Harbaugh still have a job as a head coach while Kerwin Bell sits at home? Shane,
Yeah.
coming from someone who has never coached, why didn't Kirby Smart ever adjust to Florida killing Georgia with the wheel route? Was it a lack of personnel, or is it that the route basically is indefensible when executed properly? It's basically the wheel route is usually run to the single receiver side, and the single receiver lined up to that side, his responsibility is to run a skinny post or a slant and literally pick the guy, the backer or safety that's covering the back out of the backfield. And we did a tremendous job. It's hard to stop. It is very hard to stop. And obviously it's something that our coaches had seen on tape that they could take advantage of. And it's something that they worked on all week. Our receivers did a fantastic job picking without being called offensive pass interference.
Yep.
And the other great thing is our backs caught the football. A lot of times backs come out of the backfield, they don't catch it. And they made some phenomenal catches as well.
Well, they really did. And I, again, I love seeing so many guys contribute to scoring points. And, I think Kyle Pitts, for his part, will be okay. He took just an absolutely violent hit. And the fact that he was able to walk off the field was amazing. But I have a feeling we may be without him for the next couple of weeks. But the good news is that we've got other guys like Gamble and like Shorter who can come in and maybe pick up the slack for Pitts, because there's so many guys contributing offensively right now. And that's the thing that really inspires me to feel really confident about how effective this offense can be. And scoring points is just not an issue. And that's so different, QB, than what we've had to live with here for, I don't know, 6 or 5 out of the last 7 years.
Well,
and it's just great to see. It's great to see.
It goes to show you how important the quarterback position is.
I know.
Now,
I know.
I'm warning people, enjoy it this year, because we ain't going to be this dynamic on offense next year, because we're going to be more of a run-oriented team. We will not throw the football like we're throwing it this year. But who cares about next year?
That's right.
Enjoy it this year.
That's right. Enjoy it this year and get ready for just, I think, another Alabama-Florida SEC championship game, even though we're 5 games away from that. Who knows if we're really 5 games away from that with the way some teams are just having to take the day off. I mean, Washington and whoever they were playing in the Pac-10 had to cancel their game because one guy was asymptomatic with a positive test 2 days before Saturday, and the entire game got scrapped. Now, that's how they are out in the Pac-12, but it can happen at any time. I don't want to be a downer here, but this is just the world we're living in right now. We've experienced here in Gainesville as much as anybody in the country. So it's a great day. Right now, the road looks clear, but there's still a little bit of traveling still to do, QB. And I'm just happy to see that the Gators are going. Heisman talk is going to happen now with Trask. It has to. The fact that the team is ready to play for a championship with everything it's gone through this whole year, and of course before the year. So it's fun to be a Gator right now.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Nobody gives a damn about the Heisman Trophy. I can trust you. He doesn't care.
I get it, but it's talked about.
If you win games, that will take care of itself. If we don't win games anymore, it ain't going to happen. So
I'm making reference to his numbers, QB. His numbers are unbelievable. I mean, they are. I mean, 22 touchdown
they're phenomenal.
passes.
They're phenomenal, but you got to keep winning games. You can put up all the numbers you want. If you aren't not here's the thing.
Well, I'll put it to you like this: if he, they're going to win games as long as he keeps chucking the ball in the end zone. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would that stop? So I think
I didn't say anything. I'm letting you as a fan can talk about the Heisman. The people in that locker room don't give a damn about the Heisman Trophy. Is my point.
Well, I know, but they do talk about it in the media.
Yeah. Well, you're part of the media, I guess.
Okay.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Danny wants to know, is Pitts out? I would say he's probably out for a couple of weeks. It was not cheap. I had people texting me and emailing saying it was a cheap shot. I totally disagree with that. The guy kind of led with his shoulder and head. It was a football play. And honestly, if Coach Spurrier was coaching this team, you know what he would say in the meeting today? He'd blame it on Kyle Trask, because Kyle eyeballed him the whole way, and so the backside safety came over instead of looking the backside safety off when you throw the ball down the middle. The backside safety is the one that came and clobbered him. So I don't think it was cheap. Both kids got knocked out pretty much.
They did.
I would probably say I don't think he'll play this week. I'm pretty sure he won't.
And I don't think they need them for this week, to tell you the truth. I think they're fine. I mean, they showed that they were fine for the rest of that Georgia game. I'm impressed with what Arkansas has done. I'm impressed with what Sam Pittman has done. Clearly, he's outcoached a lot of the guys getting paid a lot more money than he. But Arkansas is a 3-3 team coming in here, and they're going to have a hard time keeping up. That's just the way it is. But good for them. They're having a great year, Arkansas.
JC, before we get into our picks and talk around other games, your Tennessee Vols that you were loving on this early in the year, I told you they stunk.
Well, look,
my eyes told me they were not any better. But let me just give you this stat right here.
Okay.
This is Tennessee's second half point totals in the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, 0 points.
Yeah.
Kentucky, 0 points.
I think they've gotten 7 points.
Alabama, 7.
Yeah.
And Arkansas, 0 points.
7 points in the last 4 games.
They stink.
Well, Jeremy really confused everybody with the way he managed the clock and the fact that he didn't kick a field goal to make it an 8-point game there in the fourth quarter late. I just don't know. Some of these coaches just cannot manage the end of halves or the end of games as well as others. It's just so obvious to me. These guys have problems with math. Butch Jones was another example at Tennessee. I don't know what it is about Tennessee coaches, but they have problems with math and they have problems with management at the end of halves. And, the second half, end of the game, first half, end of the half. And these guys don't know what they're doing, it seems like. And Tennessee not kicking that field goal to make it an 8-point game is a prime example of that. Then they take these ridiculously long 10-play, 11-play possessions when the clock is literally running out in front of them. So they run the ball 8 straight times. I mean, the way they handled that second half, they deserved to lose, but they had the lead in that game. But good for Arkansas. They outscored them 24-0 in the third quarter, I think it was. So
let's just hope that let's hope the Big Orange don't go hire Hugh Freeze.
Well, how about that, huh? I mean, how impressive is that?
Yeah.
What he's doing. And I think that's a very real possibility because Tennessee fans have had it just as some of these Georgia fans, believe it or not, have had it. So I don't know why they would, but the Tennessee fans have had it. Let's talk about some of those other games, QB, because, it was a very interesting weekend.
Oh, it was a tremendous weekend. I mean, the Liberty is 7-0. They've beaten 2 ACC teams. They kick a long field goal to win it. But what's crazy is people may not have seen the previous play
was blocked.
The field goal was blocked in return for a touchdown for a Virginia Tech win, but Virginia Tech had called timeout.
Yeah, I mean, poor Justin Fuente. That's just bad luck, right? But I still don't agree with all the timeouts before a field goal. I don't think it has one thing to do with whether or not that kick's going to be made. But this is what coaches do. It's just like baseball managers taking out hot pitchers like the Tampa Bay Rays do. So it makes no sense. But I'll tell you, the game of the week, obviously, other than Florida, Georgia, happened up in South Bend. So much for the social distancing protocols put in place in South Bend after the game with all the students out on the field going bananas. And Brian Kelly talking about getting off the field as soon as possible, as opposed to how they scored in the last 3 minutes of the game to tie it when they fell behind by 7 points to a Clemson team that had no trouble scoring, but had a lot of trouble stopping people. And that's what I think the biggest surprise for me, QB, was Clemson's inability to stop Notre Dame.
Well, yes, because, here's the thing. Clemson takes a 7-point lead with about a minute and a half to go. Well,
3 minutes.
2.5, 3 minutes. They have a chance to run the clock out. That bad clock management by Dabo and them. I know
here we go again.
Themselves today.
Yeah, they are.
But still, they drive over 80 yards.
Yes.
With a minute and a half to tie the game up. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't blame this game on Trevor Lawrence being out. DJ
scored 40
threw for
points,
439 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did his part. Clemson's weakness is in the middle of the football field. Their safeties and their linebackers are not very good. And as much as I hate doing it, give Notre Dame credit. Yeah. They saw that on tape, and they attacked the middle of the football field. And Ian Book played his game of his life.
The best game he's played as a quarterback there. But, let me ask you this. When they play again in December on the 19th, do you think Notre Dame's going to win that game?
I don't think they will, but Clemson's got I know their middle linebacker, their starter, is out. I don't know when he'll come back. but they still had their normal safeties in there, JC, and
Yeah,
those guys
they did.
can't cover anybody.
Well, I mean, as an Alabama graduate, I'm happy to see that. But I certainly think that the rematch is going to be different. But I am agreeing with you. Notre Dame deserves to be in the top 4 now. I mean, they beat Louisville by 5 points. Doesn't matter. They beat the Clemson Tigers, who were ranked number 1. I thought another impressive performance this weekend, QB, was Indiana. So the whole state of Indiana is celebrating in football right now. You've got Notre Dame up there in South Bend. You've got Indiana down here in Bloomington. And the Hoosiers just laid it on Michigan. And I believed in them last week, and I've seen this team play now. They're the second best team. They are clearly the second best team in the Big Ten Conference. I don't know about Wisconsin. They've only played once. I don't know about Iowa. They've lost 2 games. But Indiana, I do know, is 3-0 with impressive wins at Penn State and, of course, against Michigan. And I am impressed with Indiana, baby.
No, I am too, but we can't say an impressive win over Penn State. They're 0-3. They stink.
Granted, but still, at the time, you go into that game as a big underdog to Penn State, and you beat the hell out of them. So they're impressive. Hell, I'll tell you who else is impressive is BYU with that Wilson kid. He
Zach
can
Wilson.
play. He
Zach
is
Wilson,
something else.
And let me tell you something. I've liked that kid since he plays a freshman. Now, I don't know how old he is because, majority of BYU's team is about 26 years old because they go do their missions and stuff. But let me tell you, when I saw him as a freshman, I was like, this guy's got a chance to be special. He reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes. His mobility, he throws, he has all the different throws. BYU is legit. Now, they're not going to get a chance to be in the 14 playoff. They haven't really played anybody. But Zach Wilson will be the 3rd quarterback taken in the draft behind Fields and Trevor Lawrence. He's outstanding.
He's outstanding. I find it really hard to believe that still today, neither the Pac-12 or the Big 12 have picked up BYU. BYU would roll just about everybody in both those conferences at this current point in time, with that exception of maybe Oklahoma. So I certainly think BYU needs to get all the love and attention that they deserve at this point. Another good team that doesn't get a lot of attention but's ranked very high as 6th before the weekend is those Cincinnati Bearcats. Luke Fickell could be another guy looking at that Tennessee gig if he ever leaves Cincinnati. They romp Houston. I like Cincinnati, man. That's a solid team.
I do too. And real quick, I'll get back to Cincinnati, but refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. November is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. I think Luke Fickell's done a phenomenal job, JC.
Great job.
But here, if I'm an athletic director and I'm sitting at a program where I need a new head coach,
you want an offense guy.
I will never. I will not hire a defensive guy ever again. Ever.
Well, it's hard to, right, when you've got the rules the way they are today and the way football's played, and I see that. But Luke Fickell, he had a chance to leave Cincinnati. He stayed last year because I think he knew he had a really solid team. And whoever's calling his offensive plays is doing a good job. I mean, this guy coached at Ohio State. He knows Ryan Day. They know how to score points, whether he's a defensive coach or not. Luke Fickell will have a guy who can get his team to score points. And I understand your point, but I do think this guy's going to get a big-time job, QB. He is. He's just going to.
Well, I think he will too, but I wouldn't hire him. I think he's a good coach, but I will no way I hire anybody that coaches.
You're going to hire Hugh. You're going to hire Hugh Freeze. Is who you're going to hire.
Well, there's other guys too, but real quick, I want to thank Scott Tootin and Kyle McGraw Long for sending these stars. They sent us some stars on Facebook, JC. I don't know what any of that means.
What's that mean? Well, why don't you ask them what it means? What's it mean?
Well, I guess I could.
Well, hey, it's good to have the stars, but I want to know what all these stars mean. It's got to be approval, QB. They approve of you.
I guess. So, JC, I'm trying to think. There was one other game I wanted to talk about, and I've lost my train of thought.
Well, Texas A&M was very impressive. They look great. They're going to win 9 games. Clearly, it seems that way to me. It should seem that way to everybody.
There's a lot of reports out there that Will Muschamp's going to be fired today.
Well, I don't know about today, but my God, this man just can't win football games as a head coach. How about the ineptitude of those guys at Tallahassee? They are so fortunate. Think about this, QB. The 1 year that Florida and Florida State are not going to play, and you've got a pathetic excuse for a team right now up at Tallahassee that can't get out of its own way against a team that's scoring at will. Could you imagine what that game would have looked like at the end of the year?
Yeah, well, I told you that Pitt would roll them.
They did. They absolutely rolled him. It was so embarrassing to watch James Blackman try to figure out where to throw the football that it almost felt as if he had never. He did. And he threw the ball right to the guy in the white and blue and yellow uniform about 3 or 4 times. Look up his stats. I had to watch it.
Yeah, but why wasn't Jordan Travis playing?
I don't know. They didn't have that game on the volume. It was just on the corner of the TV. I watched it in a.
They probably benched Jordan Travis and then put Blackman in.
They probably did. That Blackman was in there and completely looked as if he had never played a game at that position in his entire life. And we all know that's not true, but he looked completely lost out there. It would have been like some people we know trying to play the position. It's unbelievable.
Okay, well, real quick, JC, since you're filling us in on FSU stats, Jordan Travis was 11 of 18 for 109 yards.
What was Blackman?
They played 3. James Blackman only threw 2 passes, JC.
And what happened?
He was 0 for 2.
And what were they?
Purdy was 12 of 21 for 30. How do you complete 12 balls for 38 yards?
Yeah, and how do you throw 2 passes for interceptions?
He only threw 1 interception. All 3 quarterbacks threw an interception. They threw 3 interceptions.
It was so bad to watch. And I don't know. I say James Blackman, though, because he was the guy they had in that
lineup. He only threw 2 passes. Purdy threw 21 passes. Travis threw 18.
Well, the 2 that he threw, for some reason, I happen to have my eyeballs on that screen, and it looked sickening. And if Florida State's going to ever get it together, Norvell's going to need some time because they are so far away. They're at least 2 to 3 years away. I don't care how great they can recruit. They are so far away right now. Other teams around Tallahassee can recruit just as well as they can.
All right, JC, time has run out, but get ready for Wednesday. Wednesday, we're talking Masters, brother. It is Masters week.
Oh, baby. It's a great
tradition
week.
like unlike any other.
Any other. Okay.
The greatest freaking place on earth.
Hey, I've tied you, though, in the picks, baby. We're both 39 and 27. I've caught you, QB.
All right. Well, keep studying. That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Center State Bank. We put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida. And understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. You're going to take our first time out of the program here. When we come back, we'll be joined by FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Skechers, Sushi Hana, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by our star on Monday, each and every Monday. And after a big win over the Florida Gators, I'm sure Scott Carter did a little celebrating himself. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey Shane, doing well, man. Yeah, it was nice to leave Jacksonville with that outcome, and there wasn't as many fans as we're used to there, but I can tell you the ones on the Florida side after were pretty happy.
That's the great thing about that game. Regardless of who wins or loses,
Yeah.
and obviously we want us to win, but usually with about middle way of the fourth quarter, one side of that whole stadium is gone. And it's
Yeah.
it's just it's a unique atmosphere. I didn't go. I stayed home this year because there was no reason to go. You can't tailgate and have a good time. So,
Yeah.
how weird was it? And I don't know when you get to the ballpark, but I just know it had to have been strange for the players. When they come across the bridge, it's usually just a sea of people
Mhm.
packed. What was it like this year?
I was telling somebody at the game, Shane, that of all the eerie moments of 2020 so far, that for me, that was right near the top when I arrived over at Jacksonville. I get there usually 2 to 3 hours before kickoff. And I mean, there was just nothing even remotely close to what you normally expect. I mean, it was easy to get in, driving through downtown Jacksonville over to the stadium. I mean, there was nobody out. I wish I had my camera ready because there was an old guy who was doing a parking lot. And he was sitting in a chair in the street, and he was totally asleep, man. There was nobody there. But, once you got over to the stadium, you started seeing a few people. And then once the game started, I mean, for the atmosphere inside the stadium during the game, I mean, even though it was only, about 20% of what were normal, I mean, they had them spread out. And, I don't know how it was on TV, but you could hear the crowd. I mean, it was a boisterous crowd, but yeah, it was nothing like we're used to. But again, the football part of it was fun.
Yeah, it was. Well, when it was 14-0, my phone was blowing up. And here we go again. These guys can't coach, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, look, good things. This is what I can't wait because I do a show later today with Coach Spurrier. And, Coach Spurrier was never a rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
His main focus was, and he told every team before every game, good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. Just keep playing. And I'll be dang, that's what the Gators did. We got off to a rough start, but they just hung in there and made some plays. And what was it like, though, in the press box when Florida was down 14-0?
Yeah, I mean, that first run, the first play of the game, you're like, okay, we've seen this before. I remember, what was it, the Ohio State National Championship game with Ted Ginn? Remember that one? So those kind of plays happen once in a while. The second one, you're like, okay, it's still only less than 5 minutes into the game, and I mean, there was a little bit of, what's going on here? But the injury to Rosemy Jackson on that touchdown catch that made it 14-0. It just it was almost like reset everything because play stopped for a while. You always hate to see a guy get hurt like that. But I'm guessing over on the Florida sideline, there's a little bit of, okay, guys, we've got the bad part out of the way. Let's get back out there and do our thing. And but you're right, Shane. There was so much time left. It was 14-0, and there was still 55 minutes of game time left. So no one was going to panic at that point, even though you're kind of stunned there. And then we saw Florida get into that rhythm on offense that we've seen several times this year, and they looked unstoppable, really, for the next quarter and a half.
Yeah, when you Scott, you've been covering. Obviously, you've covered Dan Mullen all the games he's been here. Personally, I thought this was by far he and his staff's offensive. I'm just talking about the offensive unit. Their best plan that they've ever put together for any game. They obviously have studied Georgia extremely hard over the summertime. You could just tell, I call it a skinny or a slant wheel play with the back out of the backfield, and the responsibility of that single receiver is to, quote, pick, do it legally, pick the guy that's covering the wheel route. And Georgia had no answer for it. And, I mean, we must have ran it 8 to 10 times and had success every time they called it.
Yeah, I think at one point in the first half, the stat on the wheel route was like 5 for 560 yards or something like that. And you just hardly – but you're right. That's coaching right there because, that's a play that it's been around football forever. But you don't it's not used, as much. But they saw something defensively against Georgia that said, hey, we can really get them on this play today. And sure enough, I mean, you look at the final stats. I mean, 571 yards against the Georgia defense that was leading the league coming into the game at 300 yards a game. The most yards ever given up by Kirby Smart's Georgia defense. And hats off to Dan Mullen and Brian Johnson and the guys on the offensive side of the ball, because they had the scheme ready. They had the players knowing exactly what it was, and then eventually it always comes down to the players executing. And I mean, they if you even just those wheel routes, I mean, I think 2 or 3 of them, Trask threw the ball just perfectly. The running back ran under it. They had good blocking really in the first half. I thought the offensive line in the first half was excellent, played a huge part in what was taking place there with the communication, and then it really neutralized Georgia's attack defensively.
Yeah, I thought we'll get back to the offense, but when we were down 14-0, Stetson Bennett just thrown the touchdown pass where the kid was injured, broke his ankle, foot, or leg, whatever it was. That shot that Stetson Bennett took, that I don't want to say that changed the game, because I think offensively we still would have taken over, but he was not the same, and we know that he has struggled throwing the football, but he's a pretty accurate kid, and from that point on, he missed some guys that were open. But that was that shot really shook him up.
Yeah, it's one of those plays in a game that's not going to show up on the stat sheet for Rashad Torrance Jr., but he came in on a blitz there, and he got there just a tad second late, but his hit, you could tell right afterward, Bennett, he knelt down on the field for a few seconds, and he was not the same. You're right. And I don't know what it did to him. I don't know if it hurt his shoulder or rib or whatever, but it had an impact on the game. And he really, after that, I don't know, I can't remember saying, man, that was a nice throw after that. He just looked a little different back there. And that's credit to, for one play that there's been a lot of talk, Shane, about not getting the pressure on the quarterback this year. And that was not a sack, but that pressure impacted that game on that one play.
Yeah, I think the only other ball he threw that was somewhat accurate was actually a perfect throw to the tight end on a seam route, and the guy just dropped it. Other than that, no. But I thought our defense flew around, made plays. We've had some Facebook comments here about how they missed a couple of deep balls. But look, what I want people to understand is when you see Malik Davis or Damian Pierce running on a wheel route wide open, give the coaches some credit for getting him open. So we got to sometimes look at the opposing coaches and say that was a heck of a play call by them. We don't want it to happen, but sometimes, like Coach Spurrier says, there's not a perfect defense. If there was, everybody would play it. There's a weakness to every defense, and sometimes the opposing team finds that weakness, just like we did against Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the matchup that was most intriguing going into this game was Florida's offense against Georgia's defense. I thought that was where the game was most going to be decided in Florida's favor, because I thought they had a clear advantage offensively this year. And you go back to that coaching, the coaches and the game plan obviously centered on that too. I mean, you're going to try to stop Georgia's offense, but they knew they were going to have success offensively against that defense to win that game. It was going to take some points and yards, and they clearly won that matchup. So that's just the way. That's good coaching, and the defense. You're right; it wasn't perfect for Florida, and there was some things late in the game, more in the second half, when Georgia was trying to get back into the game, and they did miss some long throws. But again, I just thought it was you can't ask for much more from the Florida offense in that game, the way it set the tone after that early portion of the game.
And speaking of the offense, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line for Gary. Gary wants to know what happened to the Gator offense in the second half.
Yeah.
Seems like they slowed down. I would say it didn't seem like we had the ball that much for whatever reason, but Georgia probably made some adjustments at halftime to take away a few things. But again, we put 38 up, I think, in the first half. That doesn't mean you're going to put 38 up in the second half.
No. I mean, it'd been nice to keep it rolling like that, but you're right. Georgia did make some adjustments, and you notice that wheel route. I can't remember off the top of my head if they hit it, but I don't think it was a factor in the second half. That was mostly in the first half. And also, you can't overstate they had Gene DeLance and the right guard. The two guys went down, Stuart Reese in the late in the first half. So in the second half, they were using the two young guys, Josh Braun and Michael Tarquin, on the right side for a couple of those drives at least. I think that got some things out of rhythm. They were trying to run the ball a little bit more, and that is just not their strength. And you're trying to do that with a couple of new offensive linemen in. That doesn't help any. They did get DeLance back later in the game, but I was watching him through my binoculars. You could tell he wasn't 100%. I don't know exactly what was bothering him. So they did get out of sync a little bit. Georgia had the ball more. It happens. But hey, in the big picture, it didn't really have any factor in the outcome of the game.
No. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. So let's talk offense. Obviously, Trask is just unbelievable right now. Made some beautiful throws. The throw to Pitts on the go route, he dropped it in the bucket. It was look. This is what I like to tell people. Was it a great throw? Heck yes, it was. Was it a great catch? Heck yes, it was. Was it great coverage? Yes, it was great coverage. Sometimes it was better offense, and that's what happens to our defensive backs at times. But that throw, Grimes goes up and gets a fade stop throw. He throws it up where nobody can get it but Grimes. Unbelievable. Where does – I would probably think Pitts is out this week. That was a vicious blow he took. Yeah. How was he after the game, Scott?
Yeah, he was still looking woozy when he was leaving, going out to the bus. I mean, he was fine walking on his own and stuff, but you could tell he wasn't 100%. I mean, that was a vicious hit. That's one of those hits, Shane, that when you see it and you watch it over again, man, you're just glad both guys are moving and awake after that kind of hit. I mean, I've been watching football a long time, and that's one of the probably 5 or 10 top hits I've ever seen, just with two guys coming together at such a dangerous way. So first of all, you're just glad that both of those guys are walked off the field. But, in today's game, they're certainly going to take extra precaution. He's in, I'm sure, concussion protocol. I don't know exactly how many days that is, but I'd be surprised if we saw him this week. But, you never know. I mean, they'll evaluate him, I'm sure, each day. And if he feels better and he gets the clearance, he'll play. But so you got that. You had some other injury concerns, with the two offensive linemen we talked about. So we'll see how they are. But, Kyle Pitts, if he isn't able to play, I mean, you like what Kamori Gamble brought. You like what Keon Zipper brought. So it was nice to see both of those guys contribute in a big game the way they did. And if Pitts can play, it's a great bonus. I mean, to me, he's the best tight end in the country from what I've seen. The best matchup the Gators have. They're going to have an advantage on any matchup against any defense with that guy. And that's just what he brings to the game.
Talk a little bit about how, I don't want to say relieved, but just, Coach Mullen, his staff after this game. It was a huge win because, I mean, Florida's going to Atlanta. I mean, Florida has to lose two games, which we're not even going to lose one game, in my opinion, but you'd have to lose 2 games to not go to Atlanta. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a normal SEC championship game atmosphere for the fan base, but just I don't want to say the monkey off his back, but it was just a big game with what we have in place offensively, because I tried to tell people we're not going to be this good on offense next year, people, unless Trask comes back. So right. just how was Coach Mullen after the game?
The image that's going to stick with me is just him climbing up on that railing after the game and high five and taking some pictures with fans. I mean, you could tell he was very happy. The coach, even the team, just lingered out on the field longer than normal. And it's not like there were a ton of fans there, but there was a good group of Gator fans who hung around. They hung out down there in the corner of the stadium with them. And Shane, this is the game that everyone talked about. When you looked at Florida, where they are in their third year under Dan Mullen. They passed the test, flying colors the first 2 years, 10 wins and 11 wins. I think he rejuvenated the program even quicker than a lot of people expected. But going into this year, he knew that he had something special with Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts. I remember going back even to camp. He said Pitts didn't even participate in a couple of scrimmages because they knew what they had. So offensively, he thought they could be special, and I think we're seeing that they are special. And I think that's also why there was such, I guess, frustration or dejection after that A&M game, because at that point you're wondering, okay, our road just got a lot harder, because we've got a loss. But now they've kind of redeemed themselves, took care of Georgia. That's the game that was the natural evolution for Dan Mullen. Okay, he's done this and that. And now you got to beat Georgia. You got to get to Atlanta and try to win that one. So the path is there for them to take. As long as they don't stumble, they're going to be in really good shape. And if this offense continues to play at a high level, defense can be steady enough to play better than they did earlier in the season. I like this team's chances of maybe getting there. And of course, if they did, it's probably going to be Alabama. So you're going to have another great test later in the season if it happens that way.
Well, the great thing about it is we know we're pretty much going to Atlanta. But if we can take care of business from here till Atlanta, that game in Atlanta is not only for the SEC championship, but it's for the 14 playoff.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's going to be a monumental game, and there will be it would just be like kind of circling back for the Gators. I mean, it's been a while since them and Alabama have been front and center to where you thought this could go either way. I mean, the 15 and 16 matchups against Alabama and Atlanta, you just knew Alabama was clearly, they still had the advantage. But right now, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, it'd still be a formidable task for Florida. But with Kyle Trask and that offense, I think in a one-game matchup right now with the way they're playing, they could beat anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. Last thing for you, Scott. When you look at what the defense did any one particular player stand out in your mind?
You saw Brenton Cox Jr. some early in the game. I thought you could tell he was pumped up. The numbers might not show, but I remember that when it was a takedown of Bennett there, and you could tell he got up and looked right over to Georgia's sideline. So he played with a lot of energy. I watched him a lot. I mean, Kaiir Elam, he was around the ball a lot, had a couple of nice plays in the fourth quarter when Georgia was back there throwing a lot. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know. The play that really sticks out to me is we talked about earlier. I mean, that Torrance play, that had a huge impact on the game. Yeah. I mean, it really did. And I don't know if Bennett, if healthy, he's not the type of quarterback that's going to – he at least is known for dropping back 40 or 50 times and bringing the team back. But there was something clearly bothering him, and we touched on it, and it had an impact.
Yeah, because like you said, they're up 14-0 when he's injured. Florida goes down, make it 14-7. And, if he's still healthy and can still complete some balls here and there, who knows what happens. But Florida was clearly the better team. There's no question about it. I thought just watching the TV copy, I can't think of his name right now. He's a Jacksonville kid, 16, that played in the slot defensively for us.
Trayvez Johnson.
Yes. I thought he made a little difference in there.
He did. He showed up some, and he caught my eye really at that. It was at the second half of that Texas A&M game. He just made some big plays in the late going there, and he's been getting more involved each time. And I just remember talking to a couple of the coaches back on signing day about this guy. They love his physical nature, just his aggressiveness, and he's going to be a name that Gator fans are going to know about a lot in the next couple of years. And he's starting to get into that rotation regularly. They were without. See, Trey Dean wasn't back there. They had most of the secondary back this week, but Trayvon Johnson, that's not going to keep him off the field anymore. I think he's going to be a staple back there as long as he keeps playing well, just because of some of the tools that he brings to the defense.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, Scott, appreciate you taking the time to join us. This week will be very interesting with Felipe coming back. He's playing well. They're playing well. I don't think they don't have a chance against us. We got too much firepower.
Yeah, there's no shortage of storylines this week, Shane. How about, Felipe Franks against the guy who he beat out for, those years, and now here he is as a Heisman candidate. And hats off to Felipe, what he's doing at Arkansas. I looked up him, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They're one of the surprise teams in the league, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Well, Scott, appreciate you taking the time, man. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, see you, Shane.
That's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Does a tremendous job. You can check him out. Go to FloridaGators.com. We're going to take our last time out of the program here. We come back, we'll wrap this show up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, everybody. This is Steve Spurrier, former University of Florida head football coach, and I've been blessed with a lot of things during my playing and coaching career here at the University of Florida. Lucky to win the Heisman Trophy way back in '66. We won the national championship in '96. And now we're bringing that same winning attitude to the restaurant game. In the spring of 2021, we're opening Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point right here in Gainesville. So we need the 5-star recruits at all the positions in the restaurant, from the front to the rear. And so if you think you got what it takes to make the cut and work for us, I invite you to have a one-on-one meeting and greet with our management team on Wednesday, November 11th at Hotel Indigo at Celebration Point. Learn all about our job opportunities with the restaurant. Now let me make this clear. We're only looking for the best of the best. So if you love your job and you love the restaurant business and want to be part of the most elite team here in Gainesville, then we want you to come and learn more about this experience. With your help and the best food, drinks, and services, we'll make Spurrier's Restaurant the envy of the Bulldogs, the Seminoles, the Vols, and everybody. So we look forward to seeing you November 11th, and we plan to meet at Hotel Indigo at Celebration Point. So go to SpurrierDraft.com, fill out the application, and we'll see you then. Take care and go Gators.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Really want to thank JC for joining us today, and our good friend Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Don't forget tomorrow's show. We're going to have our Buddy Martin segment, but we're also going to have Lee McGriff, former player, great player here, also a coach, and does the color with Mick Hubert, get his thoughts on the Gator season so far, but obviously the big win over Georgia. And then Wednesday, we're going to start our Masters talk. This is the Masters week, folks. I know we're playing the Arkansas Razorbacks, but it's also the Masters. We're going to have Gary Koch, former Gator golfer who now works for NBC Sports. He's a commentator. Talk a little Masters talk with us, and we'll also have JC as well. But that's about it. Make sure all your friends follow us, like us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by Wrap Spot. Stay safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.